speak. I really appreciate it. My name's Eryn Harvey. I am running for the 121st Legislative District House seat. So the new district includes Wilkes-Barre City, Wilkes-Barre Township, Plains Township, Bear Creek Township, Bear Creek Village Borough, Laurel Run Borough, and Buck Township. So I'm running in that area. I graduated from Coughlin High School in 2012. I am born and raised in Wilkes-Barre area, and I graduated from King's College in 2016. I have a degree in communications and marketing, and after that time I went into the news. I was a reporter in Hazleton at WILN News for about a year. Then I worked for WBRE TV for about a couple months, along with WILK News Radio, both part-time. And I was looking to get into public service, so just trying to get into public service, helping people, and that's when I took a job with State Senator John Udechak, and I did media and constituent relations with him. I got to learn a lot about state politics and learn a lot about helping people in the community, and I gained a lot of fantastic experience there, and I wanted to continue my public service, so in 2021 I took a job with Luzerne County elections, and I worked there for about a year, and in February this year I resigned that position because I wanted to run for this position. So the reason I want to run for this position is I want to serve, and I feel like the people in this district need to be better represented in Harrisburg. I've knocked on over 10,000 doors, and I'm seeing a lot of issues from people. Inflation is number one, them going to the grocery store. They can't afford their groceries anymore. That's a huge issue, but property taxes is also a huge issue I'm seeing. Time after time again, I know we hear that a lot, but that's really a huge issue when I'm knocking on doors. I've actually had seniors crying to me saying, "Thank God you're here, like you need to help us." And that's what I want to do. I want to help them. So things like that. Certainly the roads are also a concern. A lot of people have knocking doors, say, please help us fix our roads, bridges, stuff like that. So I'm just seeing a lot of issues like that, and I just want to help them.
Let's talk about the 2020 election,
Sure.
which took place before you were in the elections office, but you might have some insight
Sure.
as to how elections are conducted. What do you think of the 2020 election, and do you think it was a free and fair election here in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, I do. I can't speak to what happened here because I wasn't in charge, like you said at that time, but I certainly think that it was a free and fair election here, as well as in Pennsylvania, and I think that 2020 is behind us. I think we're working better with some of the laws right now that we have in place, especially I know Luzerne County right now is getting that election integrity grant of, I think it's around $1 million, and I really think that's going to help the county, just because from my past experience, the hardest part doing that job was the mail-in ballots, just because on election day you'd have to pull different people from different county departments to actually help do the mail-in ballots. So I think that grant and that machine they're getting, I think that's really going to help speed things up.
And with regard to election administration and legislation, do you see any sort of reforms that would help the administration of elections?
Yeah, when I worked in elections over the last year, I've got to meet a lot of great people through the Department of State and through other counties at conferences, and everybody talks about ways we can make it better, and I really think the Department of State should sit down with the state legislators and come up with a better plan at some of this stuff, just to kind of touching up on this stuff, because I know the Act 77 of 2019 was a huge reform in years that we've seen. So I just think a couple things need to be cleaned up with that, but certainly just things like you have about 6-7 days to request a mail-in ballot. That's very difficult on the election office to get that request in, actually, process it, get the ballot sent out to the person to vote it and send it back. So that's a lot. I think we need to look at things like that just to help make the process better for everyone involved.
And do you support the current law regarding the no excuse mail-in ballots?
Yes. Yep. Yeah,
And what about the drop boxes?
The drop boxes, that's a whole other issue. I think the drop boxes I think it needs to be fine-tuned more, like with the law. So I think that's something that we can look into. We can look at how to make the process better for that, just because the previous election, the primary, I did see that there were a couple issues with the drop boxes with people putting in multiple things like that. I think that could be improved, if anything, so I'm for improvements with that.
You mentioned property taxes. What is your plan for trying to reform that?
Yeah, so like I said, we seem to always come to butting heads on this issue, but I really think we need to come together bipartisan to come out with an agreement on this, because there have been multiple pieces of legislation that just kind of float around down in Harrisburg and they don't make it to the finish line. And I think all the legislators need to sit down together and come up with an actual plan on how to fix that, and how to try to shift revenue around to try to balance that, because of course we need to balance the school funding and we need to make sure that it's still there and it's still being funded properly. But I think the property tax issue is huge right now. I think it's just so many seniors and so many people in this area are being affected by it that I think this should be one of the top priorities in Harrisburg. So I think just sitting down together, coming up with a comprehensive plan and something that makes sense that everybody can get on board with, I think we need to start that.
One of the plans over the last 10 years or so have been eliminating school property taxes and replacing it with higher sales taxes or an income tax. Do you support a plan like that?
Absolutely, I do. Yeah, I think there's different ways to offset, like you said, to offset certain things like a sales tax, a clothing tax, things like that. That way everybody's paying and it's not just one bill on a certain family once a year. And I mean, the people that I see affected by it so far are seniors, but especially people who are widowed. Those are the huge numbers of people, veterans, that we're seeing that have trouble paying it. But certainly stuff like that to offset it, I think that'd be a great bill to look into.
And Governor Wolf has been trying to increase the subsidies to school districts, which in turn will, the school districts will in turn reduce property taxes. Do you want to see the state pick up a bigger share of education funding?
I think that year after year, education gets a lot of funding. I think that we have record numbers in being invested into education every year, and that would be something that I would continue to support, absolutely. I'm a product of public schools all the way from elementary to 12th grade, so I certainly think we need to be investing in our schools. So certainly that we need to do that. So, but yeah, I think that with your question there, I think that we're seeing more education funding put in, but we're also seeing property taxes increase. So I think we just need to be better stewards of trying to figure out what we can balance between those two.
What do you think of Wilkes-Barre area being part of a lawsuit to challenging the whole constitutionality of the school funding system in the state?
I mean, I don't want to comment on pending litigation, but I certainly, like I said, I would support more school funding and trying to advocate for that.
What's your opinion of the Mastriano education plan? Basically allocate $10,000 to each student to spend in the school of their choice.
I haven't seen that plan, so that's something I'd have to look into, but I haven't seen that plan and how it would work out, $10,000 school choice, just because I don't know how that would work and how that would balance out, but that's something I'd have to look into, so I don't have an opinion on that without researching it enough.
In general, what do you think about school choice and providing vouchers to the student to use for charter schools or private schools?
Yeah, I think this district has Bear Creek Charter School. I've been up there. It's a beautiful school. They have about 600 kids on a wait list right now. That's how great of a school it is, and I support that. The vouchers I support as well. I think we would have to look into how that would work out, though, just because I don't 100% know if that would work, but that's something I'm certainly open to looking into that.
And regarding education, what do you think about the funding levels for state universities, higher ed, community college?
Yeah, I think we should increase that. I also think career technical schools as well, because right now we're at a crossroads. It's hard to find electricians anymore, it's hard to find plumbers anymore, and we're going to run out of them. So I certainly think we need to increase the funding for those programs to try to get more people interested in those.
Regarding government ethics and transparency.
Yeah, I certainly think we need to get rid of legislature per diems. I think that that's a huge issue right now. We're paying people to just, I don't know about you, but we're paying people on top of a base salary to just show up for work, like an extra $150, $200, and that's something that I would like to see get rid of. I certainly wouldn't take per diems. I would do just reimbursement, just so there's an actual paper trail, a check and balances of where the expenses are going, you're getting paid back. I think that's a better ethical system for that. I also would be in favor of gift bans as well. I don't think that that's fair. And certain things, I think certain things would have more spending in the state, like certain legislators have cars. I would not take a car. I think that we should ban that as well. So those are certain things that would be a top priority for me.
What about reducing the size of the legislature?
I haven't really looked too much into that. I know we have 203 state representatives and then about 50 senators, so I think for this new area that I have, it's about over 60,000 people, so my only fear with reducing it is that certain areas might not get enough funding and get what they need, so, but I'd certainly look into something like that.
And what about term limits? We don't hear too much about that anymore.
I would vote for term limits. It's just, in my opinion, it's a difficult thing because some of these people who have been in there a while, they won't vote for it. So, but I certainly think that after, look at the office of the president. They're term limited out, so I think that's something we should certainly look into. Maybe if we get enough different people in there, we can do a term limit, just because these are every 2 years, and I think about after 8 years would be enough time to actually help the district to where it should be.
What about if you're elected? Would you limit any sort of voluntary term limit on yourself?
So far, I have not thought about that. I just want to do a good job and work for the people, but that's something that I will think about, but I haven't thought about that yet.
And regarding inflation, what do you think about the minimum wage and then the other measures to try to help people deal with inflation?
Yeah, the minimum wage, I certainly think we need to raise that. I'm for raising that to about $12 an hour. I think if you look at the neighboring states around us, like Maryland, New Jersey, and other states, that would put us in line with them. But I don't know too many people who make $7.25 an hour, but I certainly think we need to raise it to at least $12, especially with prices going up and things being as high as they are.
Is there anything else the state can do to try to deal with inflation?
Yeah, right now I'm certainly in support of the child care tax credits that the state just got approved, and I'd certainly advocate for programs like that. I'd be an advocate for programs like that and doing other things like that. I know right now we do, the state does the rent rebate property tax program, and that only helps a certain number of people if you meet the income level threshold there, but certain things like that certainly helps people during times like that, but I think those are two things I'd continue to support.
Recreational use of marijuana, where do you stand on that?
Yeah, certainly I think with the medical marijuana, I think we've had some time to see that there's benefits to that, so I would certainly be open to the discussion of legalizing that for recreational use, so I'm pro.
Abortion, where's your position there?
Yeah, I think this issue, I think it's based on per person, and I think that it's a very difficult thing to talk about and a very difficult decision to make for a woman and their doctor, and I think that I'm personally pro-life, but I support the current 24-week ban here in Pennsylvania, and I think it'll go on the ballot next year. It already passed once to go on, and I think it'll go on next year, and the people will get to vote on that. So yeah, I'm not trying to restrict abortion or anything like that. I think it should be an option.
You're okay with abortions 24 weeks or less?
Yes, I would not want it to go past that.
And
Well, excuse me, I just want to
Sure.
jump in. So it's pretty clear that there will be another vote on this constitutional amendment
Right.
in the next
Right.
session.
Right. So it should go on the ballot in the spring.
And I would assume, as a Republican,
Mhm.
there'll be pretty strong pressure to support that amendment. You will not support that amendment?
I want to support the people in my district, and I want to make that decision based on them. So that's why I think it's really important to let them decide on keeping that 24-week.
But that's not the question that will be put before them. I mean, the question is an abortion ban, correct? Correct
No,
on that?
it's
I
going
think
to.
the amendment that's being proposed is not to preserve what's already there.
It is.
Is
It is. It's to keep it at 24 weeks. It's putting it on the ballot to protect it at 24 weeks. They're not trying to take that away. They're just trying. I don't know exactly how the question's going to read, but from my understanding, I got it that it's going to keep it there at 24 weeks. I could be wrong, but that's
Yeah, I'm
how
not sure.
that's how I interpreted it.
My understanding was that it was more of an issue of having the Constitution not have like
Not
a
guarantee
protection, like a Roe v. Wade standard on the state level, I believe is.
So if you were presented with that, to amend the Constitution to make clear it doesn't guarantee a right to abortion, how would you vote on that question?
Well, like I said, I support it up to 24 weeks, so I would keep it at that. Like I said, I'm pro-life, but I think that people have to make, I mean, abortions should be safe and they should be rare. And I think everybody agrees with that it's not something that people take very lightly, obviously. So I think that it's something that requires a lot of discussion with different people. I've been meeting with doctors and trying to get their take on it and try to get everybody's thoughts on it, just because it is such a serious thing.
Let's see here, gun regulations. Do you support any sort of reforms or new regulations regarding firearms?
I mean, I think that we need to do a better job at enforcing the laws we have right now. So I don't support any new regulations on them.
Assault weapons, you have no desire to ban the purchase of assault weapons?
So what do you like? What do you define as an assault weapon? Like, is it a semi-automatic, or what type of gun would you consider? Yeah.
I don't, I'm just asking in general. I mean, do you support, let me just ask you, if you support banning any sort of weapons that are currently legal to buy?
Not right now,
I
no.
mean, you're fine with the status quo?
Yeah, I'm fine with how things are right now, yeah.
And do you support any measures regarding, excuse me, the protection of the environment?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we should be doing more if we can to protect the environment, and I think that this district here has done a good job at reclaiming the mine land around this area, especially up by the arena and areas like that, and I would certainly support trying to leverage tax credits to continue to do that in this district, and I certainly would do more.
Before we go too far from the gun issue,
Sure.
What's your position on any kind of red flag law that would allow the courts to at least temporarily take away people's firearms if they determine they're a threat to the community or themselves?
Yeah, well, the red flag law, in my opinion, it's a bit confusing. So I think it should be left up to the courts to determine if they're going to take away someone's weapon. I don't think it should be decided any other way. So I would side with letting the court determine that.
Regarding the environment, do you support any sort of extraction tax on drilling?
Right now, I don't support any new taxes just because of the environment we're in right now with inflation, so I wouldn't support any new taxes like that right now.
And what about this Nacero plant that's been proposed? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think it's going to be a great thing for this area. I think it's going to bring in thousands of jobs. I think it's going to be great for the businesses in this area. So I'm a supporter of that plant coming in. I think it's going to be great for northeastern Pennsylvania.
And regarding taxes, what do you think about the plan that's out there to reduce the corporate tax?
Yeah, I like reducing the corporate tax. I think that it's time we do that, just because I think that doing that will attract more businesses to Pennsylvania. So I'm happy that it's coming down a little bit each year. So.
And the state has this surplus, this rainy day fund. Do you support tapping into that in the immediate future?
Yeah, so I know, especially with the property tax issue, there was, we were supposed to, they took money from the rainy day fund and they put that into the general fund budget. So I think if anything, I think we should be looking at taking dollars and giving it back to the people for their property taxes.
Any thoughts on whether the state should pass additional legislation to protect LGBTQ rights and same-sex marriage?
Yeah, I mean, I was the only candidate or the only elected official to march in the Wilkes-Barre's first Pride Parade, so I am 100% a supporter of their community and would do everything I can to protect their rights.
Regarding your campaign, how much money do you expect to spend in this campaign?
Honestly, as much as I can. I'm trying to raise as much as I can. I'm getting money from just local people in Pennsylvania. I think that's how it should be done. My opponent, unfortunately, I've seen he's getting money from a woman in California, Los Altos, California, and I don't agree with that. I think that the money should be raised by people in this district and people in this state. So I don't know why he's receiving money from groups like that, but I'm keeping all of my money raised right here in Pennsylvania.
A lot of your mailers are paid by the Pennsylvania Republican Party. Do you know how much money that they're spending on those mailers?
I don't as of right now. I have not gotten a figure from them yet, but yeah, I don't have that figure right now.
Regarding your opponent, he's been an incumbent for 16 years?
16 years.
What do you think about how he's done representing the district?
I really don't think he's done a great job of representing the district. I think he's out of touch with the everyday person, and that's why I'm running. I just think his record speaks for itself, and we really need to get somebody in new with new ideas, and that's actually going to go to work and work for the people. Like I said, so far I've knocked down over 10,000 doors, so I'm ready and capable to work for the people and represent their voices in Harrisburg.
Are there any plans to have a debate?
I have not been contacted, but I'm certainly open to a debate.
And since you left your job with the county, what is your current employment situation?
I'm just full-time working on my campaign. I'm full-time working for the people.
It has to be an incredible challenge to think you could defeat a long-term incumbent who is a popular musician in the area.
Right.
How do you think you're going to be able to do that?
Well, just working hard, knocking on doors, meeting the voters, and like I said, I believe people really believe that they are underrepresented, and that's why I'm running, just because I see a need to help these people. I see a need to help them, and he's not doing that right now. And certainly people are telling me that when I knock on their door, that they just want change, they want someone fresh in there that's actually going to work for them.
When did you work for Senator Udicek? And I believe he was a Democrat when you started to work for him. Then he switched to independent.
Yeah, I worked for him. I started in September of 2017 to February of 2021. And he was a Democrat when I started to work for him. And certainly, I'm very bipartisan myself, and working with him, he taught me so much, and he taught me how to work across the aisle, and that's certainly what I'm going to do, and I learned so much from him, so that's exactly.
Do you think he made a mistake by going the independent route? Obviously, he's kind of, the bipartisan commission kind of moved his district to Lehigh Valley. Maybe that was a result of being an independent in a legislature where there aren't He may be the only one as far as I know.
He's the only one. No, I don't think he made a mistake. I actually think he's gotten more done for this district since he made that switch. And I'm actually very proud that he did that. I give him a lot of kudos for doing that because that wasn't an easy decision to do.
Do you have any notable endorsements you'd like to let us know about? Not saying they necessarily matter, but
Yeah, sure.
The
The local Fraternal Order of Police, they've endorsed me. And so far, Wilkes-Barre Township Mayor Carl Curran, he's been a huge help for me. So far, those are the only two. But I'm not trying to go around and get endorsements. My big thing is just to keep working for the people.
Has Senator Udicek been a resource for you in terms of advice throughout the campaign?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, he's somebody that I take advice from, and I learned so much from him. He is full of a lot of knowledge with his 20 years of experience. So